Remix. 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 Remix.
What it do, niggas? We live from Mondonistan.
Who? What? Hey, wait, why?
I just saw the shirt.
Why is Lord video not on?
I don't know.
Is it just for me? Hurt. Lord, do you see this? No, I do.
I see y'all. Do you see me?
Amber pressing buttons. Listen, y'all.
Welcome.
There we go.
You're welcome. Talking about Amber pressing buttons.
Pressing buttons, bro.
That's what happens when you and Mom Donna stand. You know how to press shit.
Mom Donna's dead. You tripping. Hell.
Hey, this is my favorite videos. Them niggas be like, yeah, you know, I'm coming live from Mom Donna stand. They're on TikTok acting the fuck up. It's so funny.
Wait, are they like is it a location that the people in? Are they in New York?
They in New York. They be like, you know, I'm coming live from Mom Donna stand. You know, assalamu alaikum, my brothers. They finna make everything free. And they be like walking, they be like, you know, the birds is chirping. Mom Donna stand is popping. Come on and visit.
I just think it would be better if they be like, you know, Kwame something. They use the Kwame part of the name. I think that would just be pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they send you that? Is that your reward for getting him elected in New York City as the head of his campaign team? Is that what they did?
Also, although I was definitely phone banking for that nigga, I was on the line, baby. I was making them calls on election day, literally
from Memphis.
Hell yes, I'm trying to get that nigga in. I was not playing.
Okay.
Inshallah, Devin. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, shout out to all the folks in the chat. Welcome to Remix Morning Show. Amber ain't introduced y'all or us the right way. You know, her homeboy under the office. Wait till my homeboy. Wait till Andre get into the Bronx. Then I'm moving back to the Bronx, and that's it.
Who is Andre? What he running?
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Andre Easton, check out Saturday.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
You running for Bronx president?
He's running for position in the Bronx. He was just on Saturdays with Geechee, Renee, and Mtume last week. So
that's lit. Have y'all seen the video of the dude? He was like, I know y'all call me the Black Zoran Mondani, but my name is, and I'm running for mayor of Jersey City, the one who's gone to the runoff.
Wait, who? No, what?
It's this guy in Jersey City. He's a Working Families Party candidate too. And he was like, I know y'all keep calling me the Black Zoran Mondani, but my name is actually, I can't remember his name right now, but he was like, my name is actually, and I'm running for mayor in Jersey City. He's in the runoff right now. I'm gonna look it up real quick and post it. But he's funny. No, I bought this myself. I got this one. I got another one. I got a sweatshirt on the way, you know, for the winter months. This is a long sleeve shirt, but I need a sweatshirt too. I might get a hoodie. Hell.
How do people in Memphis react to the Zora merch and news and campaigning?
They lit. Shit. I want to move. Fuck. If it wasn't so expensive, I'm gonna wait for my boy to get in and see how much he stabilized the rent.
That's funny.
Yo, when I see a Zoran Dashiki, that's what I'm gonna give up.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna quit right there. I'm out of it.
I like the way he ran his campaign. I think it's important to really center people, and I feel like we haven't really seen a people-centered campaign. I hated the Obama comparisons. I definitely felt the energy though. I do think I get what they were saying, like they hit the same Obama hope energy, but I was like, yeah, but my nigga ain't gonna have them Obama policies, and that's what matters. And I was just like, I feel like the Working Families Party has really shown like that it's possible to run these candidates. I'd just like to see them do it in the South. Like I know they have some other local candidates, not mayor candidates, but like they had some city council candidates in other places. I would love to see them run a Working Families Party candidate in Tennessee and other places. I think the issue is that it's very hard to get ballot access here, just like other places in the South, like Georgia. Like they kicked them third party candidates out the ballot there. Like they make it really, really hard to get ballot access. And so I think they wouldn't have a Working Family Party's line but they could run someone as a working family party's candidate. But they didn't got me locked in. Now I became a dues paying member last week. I'm locked in like a motherfucker. Yeah. I said, you know what, working families party, I see what you're doing. I'm gonna join it.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. So I don't know what you feel about entryism, right? When
sounds like we're about to get into this, so I just want to highlight.
I saw that.
So just to tee you off, Geechee. I know the rest of the remixers talked about this earlier, but we want that Friday analysis. What do y'all think go on candidates like him in electoral politics as a whole? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think organizations on the left who claim they have a ground game and they're touching grass, as Claudia and others would say, it's their time to like mobilize and organize the energy that's coming. For folks on the actual left, they can either sit back and be like, he ain't no real soldier, he ain't gonna do this, and they can do that, or they could be like, oh, niggas is talking about this now. It's time to get busy. Or they can go into, I don't suggest this one. They can go into the party and engage in what they call entryism and try to like radicalize a particular party in a particular location, especially if they got the ability to platform and win a particular type of politic. But yeah, I just wouldn't. I would be careful not to fall into what August Nemps called voter fetishism and think that niggas don't win the championship because he got an office. But yeah, I start there.
How you feeling?
I mean, I think I saw a lot of people talking about that on Threads and Twitter, and it was like, I'm so sad that after Zoran gets elected because I have to hold him accountable. Da 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 da. I didn't feel any of those emotions. I wasn't that tied to it. I also am not that kind of person who is like, I really feel like this campaign was one of the best I've seen, but I also saw people definitely fetishizing the hell out of him, like really obsessively, like real bad. And I was like, it's a lot. I was like, y'all doing a bit much for a nigga you don't know. Like, I only bought this t-shirt 2 weeks ago. I have liked him from like when he started running. I really started paying attention in the summer. I've only been locked in for like maybe 3 months. For real. I just bought the shirt when I realized he was gonna win. Because I work in I study political science. That's what my degrees are in. So like I understand data, I understand people, I understand the sociology of it. So I knew he was gonna win. I knew not only was he gonna win, I knew he was gonna win an overwhelming number. I knew that he was not gonna just like get close. I said he's gonna beat the fuck out that nigga. And I was right. He whooped that nigga ass, like I thought. Because I understand the data and stuff behind voting. And I saw that he was able to engage a base of voters who have not been interested in voting for a very, very, very long time, which is the main issue we have in the South. People are not excited about elections. They don't feel like the Democratic Party is doing shit, which they're really not. They don't feel like either party is serving us. We're seeing that right now because we have a special election happening right now in Congressional District 7. And there's so many Republicans, because Tennessee is a red state, there's so many Republicans who are flipping to vote for this Democrat because they're like, I'm going to lose my fucking farm. Like, these Trump policies have screwed me over. This is not the right way to go. So many of them have lost their businesses. They're finna lose their farms. The Secretary of Agriculture for the state of Tennessee said they have lost over $300 million for farming and agriculture in the last year since Trump has been elected, because since he got inaugurated, because of all the cuts that he made. And then this federal shutdown was even worse. So they took away all these cuts that all these white farmers in Tennessee were getting. They're getting all these subsidies. They're getting all this stuff that black folks aren't getting, of course. They cut all that. Then they on the brink of losing their farms, and then we have a federal shutdown. So then they not getting no money at all, really. So the stuff they got cut, gone, but now they obviously not even getting like the little bit of loans or payouts they were getting because the government shut down. So they literally are like on the brink of losing their family farms that they've had for generations and generations. But they 7 generations in Tennessee. I was like, because slavery, but okay. But they're like, we're losing our families and farms and shit. And I was like, you voted for that nigga. So now they're flipping. And this race is so close between Afton being this white lady and the Trump candidate, Van Epps. It's like a 260 vote split right now. It was 382. Now it's like a 260 vote split because they are like flipping to vote Democrat because we don't have closed elections because we're in a general. So we don't have a closed election and they're flipping. And I was like, I think that seat is going to flip because of what's happening. And I think that Zoran was able to win off of that too.
Lord, can you please add some of this in your response, if you can? Is it safe to say that People's Forum, PSL, Claudia running, and all these other things, and other people who are like that in New York, should not be forgotten that they could possibly move in the needle and making people vote for or open to?
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Because this shit ain't come out of nowhere. But go ahead.
No, I agree. The history from below. So like what's happening on the ground that created this. I hear Amber's point, and I want to raise the analysis earlier that Ricky Ryan put for us, which is we know what he's going to do. It's kind of about what we're going to do. So the way I see it, obviously we as organizers should be looking for how we can use this. But my biggest concern, I'll say, is that all this momentum is credited to the Democratic Party, not the conditions on the ground, not the Republicans ramping up their version of fascism, as Amber's outlining, none of those things, right? So we had a big No Kings protest. There's a lot of mobilization that the Democratic Party is doing to try and bring people into alignment with them. So from the organizer side, some of the usefulness I see from Zoran, for example, is just some of these basic policies we should be asking for in our cities, right, that make them more livable. I think Zoran does have a great platform for that. And I think if you're in a city with a more regressive Democrat in charge, you can challenge them that way. I'll also say, just because of the nature of saying socialism, in places like Miami, he scares people. So the right is always going to use him kind of as a boogeyman. And that can be useful as well for organizing, because if people are having positive reactions towards Zoran and socialism, then you can, of course, use that as an end to bring them into organization. What I will say about is that my fear is that he's more Democrat than socialist, right? Whenever someone says Democratic Socialist, it's usually a dog whistle, sorry. So I just see him as a Democrat. I will say the two things that stood out to me, and I'll just drop it here, were number one, his approach toward the NYPD. Someone who did limited organizing in New York, I was like, that was my first question. It's like, are you going to go after the NYPD? Because a lot of these policies, a lot of this budget goes to them. So at the end of the day, that would be my hope for a socialist candidate, is that they would attack imperialism. And he's been weak on that with the NYPD and letting a Zionist still run it. And he's also told that line that Bernie Sanders and these other imperialists do, saying that Cuba and Venezuela are dictatorships, and saying that with the military action that's going on right now is unacceptable. So that's kind of how I feel about Zoran.
I'm interested what his response is going to be to the commissioner. Have y'all seen that lately?
The one that he told not to run? Is that what?
No, the current commissioner, Commissioner Tish. I follow Jamani Williams. I've known him for a little while. I know him from Young Dems. We met in like 2017.
Commissioner Tish, the Tish family, the Zionist. That's what I was referring to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I was wondering what his response is going to be about the case that Jamani and some other folks from the guy's family who was killed by the NYPD officer. They were like rallying yesterday, and I was wondering what his response is going to be once he becomes mayor about it, because I know that like he can also push for her like decision on the charges being upheld and stuff. So I was wondering about that too. I also think that, so I know a lot of people in New York, and I will say that they do not see that nigga as a Democrat. The Young Dems would not endorse him. The Democratic Party was not fucking with him. And I would say as an assembly member, he is definitely seen as a socialist. I have talked to several people who are House reps and senators. They think they nigga radical. They do. They was not fucking with him like that. They definitely think that he is more of a like, because he's also younger. So like most people I know are a little bit older than him, like in their 40s, like between 40, probably like 48-ish, and they think he's more of a radical type. They only hopped on board, after he beat the dude in the primary thing, and that was barely. Like even the Young Dems president that I know was not posting about him. He only posted on election day that he won. That was it. They never endorsed that man. They never talked about him. I was the one holding phone banks for him in our Black Caucus chat. I was the one like talking with Jamal Bowman. Me and Jamal Bowman were organizing like phone banks and canvases and stuff for Zoran. The people there though, they do not mess with him. So I think that from the outside looking in, like especially for people who don't really fuck with the Democratic Party, it does look like he's just like another Democrat. But he is not seen like that to them. They do not consider him another Democrat.
So this is almost going to the conversation that we were talking about around like when the corporations or whoever do this influencer gathering, like there be people who have like some independence type joint, but they're in this big ass tent that the Democrats are still kind of controlling the tent, even though they feel like there's some autonomy inside the tent. And so I say this. So we interviewed David Cobb for Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win, episode 16. If you go to the playlist on Black Liberation Media, and it talked about the Working Family Party being an arm of the Democratic Party, and anytime you try to challenge them on there, they'll be like, "Oh well, Philadelphia," and David goes into like why even that's not actually true, because so that's another thing. So last night at this conference, there's a employee ownership that Morehouse is doing, and they brought Jessica Gordon-Nimhart in, Stacey Sutton, and Stacey was on the panel with Jessica, and then another guy, Esteban, and I don't want to know how much of this I can do public because so some of these are well, I know two of them, right? I'll just do it like this. I know two of them, and one of them told me like they researched a person when they was talking about cooperatives, and they stopped researching that person before 1920. After 1920 is when that person actually evolved on their perspective on cooperatives. Not saying that it don't work, but it's just like it was talking about like electoral strategy, how you can't leave that off the table if you try to talk about cooperatives in this type of economy. And for that person as a scholar to admit that, it is and that person like they take up a lot of space in that environment. And I probably being as vague as possible because I don't want to say whatever, but they have like a responsibility to like give the people all of the information they need to know about this type of things. And basically I'm saying like Zoran, I don't even think Zoran has the chops of somebody who's a radical or revolutionary leftist. I think expecting him to have that is where we're gonna fall at. And then somebody said something earlier about what we're gonna do. I think it was Chilimacho. How do we harness the electoral energy into a mass movement for the people?
I saw that.
But at this, like the test already came out. Like we ain't have studied. We didn't study. Like we don't have a strategy. Like I mean, individual orgs maybe, but there has like anytime that we come together to kind of like develop something and have a actual cohesive, coherent left push, like we haven't. So we're caught not prepared, is what I would say. And then maybe we can figure something out on the fly. I mean, maybe some of us, I don't know, but I just think yeah.
I just want to say A-Rob said Mom Donnie used to be a rapper, and I just want to say I too have put out a few singles. So hey, I just be doing shit for the plot just like him.
Yeah. I mean, I think Chitty Macha's question is the main question, though, regardless of if we have an answer.
Question?
What Geechee just raised, whether or not, like, how do we turn this electoral energy, harness it into a mass movement? I think that's the question radicals are always trying to answer. I will say that, again, to be dialectical, I'm more interested in how we can use Mamdani in certain ways. So he's somebody who, as a politician, whether we see him as a Democrat or not, I do personally. But I admit, Amber, you're right. I think he raises crisis in leadership the same way Bernie did, and they cooed him, right? Whenever, even though Bernie was not as anti-imperialist as any of us, but the one he's Zionist, all of those things, he was too much for the Democratic Party to stomach, and they had to destroy him. So I think in that sense, Zoran can be seen as a threat. I also think as a politician, as a media, in this media era, as a propagandist, he's talented, right? We can't like deny his team and how great a job they did with their media push and with getting people excited. And I think he can
like black people, by the way, because everybody was talking about how
right. And Jared had an interview with somebody DSA. But yeah, and I will also say that as a gifted politician, Zoran knows how to hide in contradictions. So I saw for Veterans Day, he didn't attend the parade. Instead, he went to the Bronx, served food, and then spoke to veterans who obviously aren't being served by the system the way they should be. So I think that is, again, something a gifted politician would do. What I'm actually interested in, I've been talking to my comrades about this, is like a comparative study between Zoran and Brandon Johnson. I actually am curious what people think about who is more radical, who's more progressive in terms of their policy and things like that. Just interested in that analysis. I know some people are probably more into electoral politics than me, but that's how I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to see are Zoran or Brandon Johnson the far left pole of what mayors can do? Is there more that can be done?
I think that Zoran is only radical in New York. I just want to say that.
Right.
I think that in New York City, in New York the state, because somebody had a comment earlier about them being conservative. He is seen as super radical because he's in New York City. I think that he just has socialist views that everyone should have that to me are realistic, but it's seen as this like, crazy radical thing. And he's had those views the entire time he has lived there. He has had those views as a state assembly person. He had those views before he was elected. These are not like just random things he brought up as mayor. He was working on these things in the actual state house. And as someone who actually watches procedures and hearings, I've actually seen him in hearings questioning people. I was watching a hearing about healthcare, and Governor Hochul had changed like their healthcare program for people who were providing like caretaker support, because Leah Webb, who's a senator in New York, I know her too, and I was watching her in the hearing, and I was also watching a hearing that Zoran was in. So I've actually seen them in their actual positions, so I know how they are responding to things, and I know that he has not changed since he's been elected. This is how he has been the entire time, and that's what people in New York have told me too. I will be interested in a comparison between him and Brandon Johnson too, because I don't think Brandon Johnson is radical for real like that. I think Brandon Johnson has some very specific pushback, but to me, Brandon Johnson is just pushing back against Trump and his policies. Brandon Johnson is not doing radical things. People in Chicago are still fighting for. They had to fight super hard for those mental health centers that he was not supportive of or didn't help with in the beginning. Like when they were trying to get the mental health centers open back up. I don't think that he's like, doing some extravagant thing, but I would love to see a comparison of the both. I also think that there is an argument here about what it looks like to hold elected officials accountable, even when they aren't necessarily doing or running on the things that you care about, because our current mayor here, he's trash right now. Like I don't hate him, but I don't like him right now. A lot of people hate him right now, but what is it like to hold him accountable even when you don't like somebody? And I will be interested to see what that looks like for Zoran if he does something people don't like. Like, how are they still going to hold him accountable without like vilifying him?
Listen, I said this before. We're coming from the block party. We're in the block party, right? African people. We're going to skip the major party and go to the after party or build the after party. But if we go to the party, we only there to recruit a few people to see if they want to come to the after party. So if anybody don't know that reference, with I and Jared and Renee and a few people and talking about how Black folks need to build both of those parties and build an after party. And then the block analogy is like, can we get in a space where we actually have Black folks or people on the left moving in a block fashion and tactically working with folks until they're able to build their shit. So we're not really looking for anybody's in any one of those parties, including the little arms of those parties, to be radical. Like that's not what we're saying here. That's not even depending. Somebody said something about like being sad because people, like nobody is even focused on this person as a politician. Organizers are focused on the shit that they're saying and the things that they're doing that they can utilize to actually move people. So I just think the conversation sometimes is outdated. It's like people are not like they're not having they're not part of the conversation. They're just saying shit. They're not even like. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I think you're there. I think it's back to policy, which we all three talk on here a lot about. Again, I don't think it's so much about having faith in the politician or the personality. But to Ricky's point, again, what can we do with this? We know he's going to do things. What can we do? And I just want to say, in addition to asking what is we're going to do, we have to be able to realistically predict what he's going to do. Like, I don't think it's so much about faith. I think it's just about knowledge of your opponent, right? Like, we have to know what is it that we can reasonably rely on them for, and what can we expect them to fall back on. So now, like I said, NYPD, if you're trying to get defund, if you're trying to do certain abolitionist work, you might have your work out for you. We'll see, right? But people who are into rent stabilization, for example, they have some policies that Zoran has explicitly said in his campaign that he's going to try and do that they can work on. So it's just about, is he going to do that? Do you know if he's the kind of politician that just says that shit and lies, says that shit and abandons it? To Amber's point about an Obama before, will say Employee Free Choice Act and then never bring it up again? Or is he somebody who's actually going to, make some motions toward it, and then you'll see the other contradictions in the system? Because as we know, it's not Zoran himself. There's an entire political apparatus, economic apparatus set up around him. So when he tries to do his agenda, there are going to be the contradictions that most people aren't aware of, that they finally see, oh, this is why we can't do this. It's not just the mayor's office, it's boom, 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 boom.
Which is why I think it's important that he actually did run on things he can't change, because he actually can't stabilize the rent without the council. Mm-hmm. The mayor is the one who actually has control over that. So I thought he made really good, which is how I know his political strategist is a black woman, because she is. He ran on specific things that he knew that he could change. He has the power to do those things, which I feel like maintains the faith in him as a politician, because if he had ran on shit he knew he could not do and did it, it's going to lose all faith. That kills all the momentum that we possibly have for somebody like him who's running and wins, right? Those are things he specifically can do. The mayor of New York has that specific power. They can sign off on it or not. So he can do that. And so when he does it, okay, he answered that thing. If he doesn't, then he gets held accountable for not. Also, I want to pause for the cause and say what's up to my nigga Chase, and tell Justice I said I love him and I miss him so much. My Chase is my friend here in Memphis. I didn't even know he watched the show. And Justice is his baby. He's very cute.
Oh,
so what I just thought of, have any of y'all like read or studied Grenada's conflict when Maurice Bishop and Bernard Cord was in conflict and the U.S. exploded, and that conflict, and then actually I think maybe it was Ricky Ryan or somebody else.
I haven't
no, me either. I gotta look.
Well, I think it was Ricky Ryan or somebody else who suggested that although most people like fuck Bernard Cord, if you read Bernard Cord's perspective and version of the conflict, it actually gives you a broader idea of like actually what happened, and then some of the contradictions. Because I'm heavy on Maurice. Growing up, I was heavy on Maurice, like studying and like being upset because like it's Bernard Cord's fault or whatever. But the reality is like they were having this conversation around not letting the people know yet that it's a collective decision, and Bernard and Maurice had equal power in leading the country. But the people saw Maurice as the revolution. And Maurice was kind of like, well, we don't have to tell the people that this is what it is. They can look at like we know that we're going to be doing this leadership this way. We don't have to tell the people that it's split leadership, because they might lose faith in the revolution because they kind of see Maurice as the revolution. And Fidel was kind of like consulting him because Fidel has an experience with this, just like Ortega and other people, where the people, even though the people like say Ortega and they make songs about Ortega and Fidel, like they use their office to start to open people up to shared power as opposed to them being the leader, right? And so I'm saying that because like if a character like Mondani, if he is to be somewhat successful, he would start to break people's natural inclination, well, not natural, but is created by propaganda. But these people inclination to think that this one person is the leader, and it's not like a shared power or a people power that we're trying to push through. So his responsibility up there is to kind of start to break the scales on people, how they see power.
Yeah.
And again, I'm saying that with Maurice, because how I understand Maurice's argument was not that I am the revolution. It's like if that's where they're at right now, let's not break their spirit or whatever. Like kind of read the room.
The joy that they have.
Yeah. So I think, yeah.
I really like Kahinde's comment. They said, I think what's so important in this conversation is specificity. Each city has its own distinct policies and intricacies. The room for exploiting Zoran's election is not ideological, but material. And I have been talking about this too, because I think that because of the popularity of the campaign, like people don't understand, like I said before, the things he was running on are specific to New York City. The things he ran on are very specific to New York City. We cannot do that in Memphis. We have state laws that do not even allow us to have a rent moratorium. We cannot stabilize rent. We can't have a rent moratorium. We can't cap anything. We can't do anything like that. So I do think that that's what's important, like looking at not the ideological like excitement around it, but the material conditions where you are. I also think that people aren't good at being able to move politicians and hold them accountable without having like all this credit around it, right? Like y'all hear me talk about stuff I do here in Memphis on here, but like most people in Memphis don't know about none of that shit I'm doing because it's not important. What's important to me is that like the stuff moves. And I know that based off the climate that we're in Memphis, our mayor's not going to have a press conference and say, yeah, we're going to remove the police from mental health calls. He's not doing none of that shit, but he will do it. And I can enforce it. And I can write a plan to help him enforce it. And I can hold him accountable to it. But you have to be able to like understand the landscape of where you are and the actual material conditions of where you are. Because I live in Tennessee and they hate the fuck out of Memphis. They hate our stinking guts. That's why we got almost 2,000 federal agents here right now, and they finna send another 500 National Guard troops. They do not like us. So it's not the same as a New York City where he is. And I think that that's the problem a lot of folks are having because the campaign was so nationwide. They're like, well, I don't understand how we can't do that here. I don't understand that. Not getting that your local policies and local politics is going to be completely different based off where you are. The only thing that's going to stay the same is really going to be federal, like elections, the president, stuff like that. But everything else is different. We don't even have assembly members. We don't have aldermen. We don't have any of those things. Like it's different in Chicago and New York and the South in general. We don't even have the type of government makeups as some other places. Like, you know, up north, y'all have county executives, but that's the mayor here, like in the South. So like it's all different.
So that
somebody said sis is preaching. I know that's motherfucking right.
Yeah, you be preaching. But you the guest pastor. You the guest pastor.
I love my voice earlier this week, and this is my first time talking all week. I've been depressed, so I'm a little geeked up.
You're bad.
I'm gonna tell you an old tale. Like if you get that voice back, that means you need to hold some of that voice back. I'm joking. So, but really quickly, this is connection to what you're saying in terms of like the national thing. And I don't remember the words now, but I know I was pissed off when I heard it. But when the win happened, there's a radio personality in Atlanta because I heard it on the radio. And he was like, "Oh, you know, socialism is the world gonna be crazy and all this." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, but the positive part is like, which is probably I don't know if you're gonna think it's positive, but Morehouse has a new DSA chapter, right? That's not like typical, like a HBCU, or maybe I don't know. But most of the black people we know that comes into our organization, and maybe even back, I don't know, but they like had a small stint with DSA and it's like these niggas ain't it, and then they come to us. But the fact that the conversation around socialism is happening on the campus, like I literally like the day before yesterday, I talked to them. Like it was a group of them, and it's Clark and Morehouse, and I think a little few people at Spelman. And the fact that they're even like interested in those politics,
right,
is enough for us to kind of navigate. And then on top of that, like Tara Taylor, Dr. Tara Taylor, who y'all know, she's at Morehouse. Andrew, who wrote the Prophets of Discontent, he's over the political science department. There's a sister we know at Clark, and so the professors are it's like the professors are there, and then the students are having a conversation. And just last night, for the first time in the labor studies department, they're talking about cooperatives. And on stage, they're like, this is the first time, they were actually surprised that they were invited to come talk about that at a place like Morehouse. And so the conversations, and there's something happening. There's a push, right? And despite the reactionary radio people and all the other foolish people who still inspired by the Red Scare and those other things, it's still something that's moving. That kind of to Lori's point, this is our time, shit opening up. So
yeah,
you were studying.
Yeah, I see the excitement around it. I also think that we're seeing more of this because people are explaining what socialism is better. I think that folks didn't quite understand it all the way, and there is this kind of villainization about, why don't you know what socialism is, and a lot of judgment sometimes. And when people are able to see what's possible, which is why I talk about that a lot, when people are able to see what's possible, they're more likely to be interested in it. And when someone explains it to them, when you got a Zoran saying, we want a New York City you can afford, let's stabilize the rent, let's make the buses free, and people are like, oh, what's that? And then they're like, oh, that's socialism. And they're like, oh, okay. Then they get into it. They be like, all right, I'm feeling this shit. But no one explained that to them at first, because we have this assumption about people, especially academic niggas, folks in college, that they should just know, and they don't.
Yeah, that reminds me of how Fidel talks about, because again, in a Central America context, armed struggle probably happens more rapidly, but even after that, they actually had to politicize the people and nationalize things. And once they started confiscating land and giving it to the people and nationalizing school, niggas was like, what is this? Oh, this is socialism. Oh, and now people are they're ready to die for these policies. You're not about to regress, even though Nicaragua they did voted it out, but they voted it back in. So, but to your point and to Lori's point, can you communicate the steps to a particular thing? Can you communicate the policies, the how the social order look in this thing that you want? Yeah. And could that be on the other side of what you're against?
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't do all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are more into shaming versus explaining.
Yeah. I wanted to highlight this comment, and Amber, I take your point 100%. It is a product of what times we're living in, and a lot of groundwork by some good organizers. So this comment, rent stabilization in itself for the minuscule rent stabilized apartments will not affect change that is needed regarding housing for the masses. So I absolutely agree. And so this is my point again about the contradiction here. Are we building socialism? Or are we building social welfare, social imperialism, right? And so to me, the core element, defining feature of socialism, of course, is workplace democracy, controlling where you work, and fighting imperialism, right? Making a political economic system that isn't based on exploiting and colonizing other people. To that extent, right, I do question how well Zoran is building anti-imperialist consciousness in people, though there is a lot of pro-Palestinian support for his campaign. But that would be my point. What does anti-imperialist consciousness look like? Like I said, the NYPD is sucking the money out of your services, out of your life and what you need in New York, right? So trying to get free grocery stores without addressing that, it's a bit of a problem, right? It then confuses people into thinking socialism is social welfare. It's Keynesian. It's stuff that Democrats did, 50, 60 years ago, and that's not what it is. So I am a little worried about that. But to Lady Alex's point, so I think, again, as organizers, if you are working in housing in New York, in your base building, this is what your base wants. Your base is going to want rent stabilization. So yes, you are going to have to push for that. And then you're going to have to make people's consciousness about it go back to this contradiction that Lady Alex is pointing out, that there's not enough housing for people, but that who do you trust in your community to work for you? It is us. So that's the whole point. We understand that rent stabilization is not enough. We want people coming to us, trusting us, organizing with us, we're moving toward the actual solution, not going to rent stabilization and then falling into the Democratic Party because they believe the Dems provide that. So that's the struggle we're in. Just wanted to highlight that.
No, that's beautiful.
I want to highlight another comment that was in response to that, because I actually agree with both of them. Esther Gier said 1 million rent stabilized apartments in New York City is not minuscule, although her point still stands. And I agree. I think that Lady Alex's point is realistic. I also think that 1 million is a lot. I don't think that that's minuscule for New York City. Yes. I do want to say that I agree with what Lorick is saying, though, that does help you build the base for the organizer you want to see. And my idea, well, my connection would be that if he's saying that this is what he wants to do, then that means that more is possible, right? Like, because that's not going to be enough. So then it's up to us as organizers to push for what's possible beyond that. Same thing that we were doing here, right? Like, this federal occupation is happening right now. And so we met with the mayor and we're like, hey, we need you to stop the MLGW power shutoffs and, stop evictions. But he can only do that for public housing because he's a city mayor. So then I said, well, you need to get with the county mayor because the county mayor is in control of the courts who can stop the rest of the evictions, right? So he did the first part. And then we, as organizers, were like base building and saying, well, the base is saying you need to do it for everybody. So what does that look like? So then I had them pull in the city attorney and figure out a legal pathway to stop evictions for everyone, not just folks in public housing, because that's what the next step should always be. It should always be building on what you've accomplished.
Right. So this is, and I saw a lot of their comments and I was like, I would prefer to drop the link and have a real conversation with that person, because I feel like that, like what Sela is saying, that Lady Alex is missing the larger point. You think the establishment doesn't know this, but even with this, they are fight this with the full chest. What I wanted to say, which is in line with both of y'all want to say, when you say you're an organizer, then that means you're probably engaged in campaigns to switch a particular thing, right? Because you said you're an organizer.
Right.
And if you say you're an organizer and you know that and you're a radical organizer, then you would probably know what non-reforms reform means, right? And if you say you're an organizer, you got programs, and you say you're trying to build mutual aid, you seem like you would know what mutual aid is. Like, it's meeting a need, highlighting a contradiction, pulling people into a larger struggle, but there are tactical wins that you would want or that you would strive for on the way to something larger, right? And so that's why I feel like that. I don't know if that, Amber, you're correct. Like, yeah, we live in the 1920s again. Shout out to Brian Colbert's Hubert Harrison book again, because it's so motherfucking relevant again. But yeah, socialism is on the menu. Niggas are talking about it. That's true. But part of this organizing thing is we on the left probably need to get clear on some words too. So we probably need to get clear on what the fuck is a mutual aid and what is non-reform is reform, and why, yes, my nigga, we can hear you saying that they ain't gonna fix things, yes. But again, are you moving with the people and escalate when the time is to escalate?
We have to sharpen we have to sharpen ourselves too.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the contradictions I have with organizing, is that I see a lot of people who are opposite of what you're saying, like, right? Like, they're like, we want this big thing, and if we don't get this big thing, we don't care about anything else. But that does nothing for people's material conditions, right?
Not at all.
If I don't try to get the small things first, then we'll never get anything. One big win that I had, like, in the last week that I'm really excited about, is that last year I was working on the budget to get youth mental health services. I talked about it on here, like how we got the mayor to give $1 million to youth mental health and youth economic development, creating wraparound services for folks who are doing job training. Last week he called me and said, hey, that program actually worked really well. Can you create an entire budget for the city budget that I'm going to put up next year? Because he saw the impact of that one thing, right? Now, if I had said, we got this moral budget coalition, we were working on this thing last year, and you only give me $1 million, I don't care. I'm mad. I want the full thing, right? We wouldn't have got shit. And now I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now, right? So that's why I don't understand the people who are like, well, if I don't get this big thing, we're not taking anything, because it does nothing for us. Because the impact of that was seen. And a lot of times when you're working with people who are not very radical, right, who don't have the same politics I do, they have to see evidence of something working, right? They have to see that this is actually pushing the things that they want. He was able to see that youth crime dropped 75% because niggas was going to therapy and going to group activities and getting wraparound services, and he realized it worked, right? But if I hadn't taken that win and pushed for that we wouldn't have what we're going to get now, which is going to be like a $5 million budget that I'm writing, right? So I think that's the biggest thing that frustrates me when they're organizing is that we'll push for these really big things, but not be willing to take the small win to build up to the bigger thing.
You want to know why, Amber? My homeboy, man, and if he's in the chat, we always quote this philosopher that a lot of people need to study. And the philosopher, his name is Jay Jenkins, and he says, trapping ain't dead. You niggas are just scared, right? So
I know that's motherfucking right.
So the niggas who's saying like, oh, we want the big thing, they know their skin gonna have to get cut going through that. And
they're worried about what happens if they actually get it.
Yeah, that's why like that helps nigga not get involved. Like if it ain't the big thing, I ain't gonna, because you know what time it is. Like you gonna have to when you have to pull up my sleeves and throw hands, like you ain't really want to throw hands. So that's why you like, I don't want, I can't win, I ain't gonna be in it. Like nigga, like yeah, you don't want to tussle. And I think that's kind of really what it is. Like organizing ain't dead, them niggas just scared.
They are. I like what Devin said. He said you got to move with the people, exhaust all strategies, expose contradictions as they arise. I agree. I think that's the biggest thing that I've been seeing right now with this occupation that's happening here, right? Like all the organizing niggas are like, I don't understand why people aren't in the streets. Like we should be more upset. These people are not leaving their homes. They don't have food to eat. And that people who are not organizers, that they're more your activists, radical types, don't understand that you have to move with the people. If the people are not leaving their homes, you can't have no protests. If the people's children are not going to school, so they got to go to truancy court now, and now the police coming to their house because they're not leaving for that either, they're not coming to a protest. They're not coming to a press conference. They're not going to email their city council member. They're not going to call the mayor's office. They're not doing shit because they won't leave their house. So until you move with the people to meet their material conditions to get them to where you want them to be, you'll never have what you want, which is why strategy is important, which is why I said, well, why don't we create a rideshare program to get their kids to school and get them to work so then they are more likely to show up for these other things? And then they were like, oh, that's a good idea. I was like, 'cause y'all dumb, but whatever. You know, being the only organizer in a group of radical motherfuckers is so hard sometimes. So hard.
Man, maybe we have to
we really been going on this one. I know we have a guest coming up. Did y'all want to try and get into some quick stories at all before we're joined by our guest today?
Yeah, I didn't know my mom Donna Stan line was gonna get y'all going like this.
It was great. We hadn't talked about Zoran yet, so I like that we did a little breakdown. That was
I was
nice.
geeked up about it. I was actually really getting excited on election day, hearing how people were very excited for him. Like, I mean, every call I made, if they had not voted, they were on the way to vote for him, or they were friendly. They were asking where their polling location was. Like, and no one was mentioning the socialist shit. No one was caring. They were like, "Yeah, I'm voting for him. Like, I'm not. I'm in. I'm locked in." Like, they was going hard for that nigga. That's how I knew. 2 weeks before that, I said he gonna blow it out the water. My political analysis never lies. I'll be on it.
Amber knows.
I do be knowing. Why you want to watch the Michael Jackson biopic trailer? It sucks.
Well, we got to talk. You already spoiling the next segment. Slap the back. No, I'm just playing.
I did find the guy that I was talking about earlier from Jersey City. His name is Musab Ali.
Cool. You want to show him?
Oh, yeah, I can. Here, I'll share this thing. I just want to say that the nigga fine.
Noted.
Which is what matters. I think it's interesting that he be saying that he's the Black Zoran, but I can see it. I do see it.
I ain't never heard of this shit in my life. And how you gonna get a Black Zoran? Oh, wait.
Black guy.
Wait, go back. He okay.
It's a black man.
Yeah, but I know, but he do look like he Middle East black.
Okay.
Yeah, his hairline just thinning at the top. It's okay.
That man look Middle East black.
Y'all funny. Anyway.
He's definitely middle. To me, he's definitely Middle East black, but he is black.
Yeah,
I love his like.
He's South Asian, is he?
Mm-hmm.
I'm into the policies, y'all. You know how this goes.
Yeah, because I think this is going into that conversation that Jared had an argument on Jared's
Let me go
show.
to his website. Let's see where his
argument with that one dude who said Kamala ain't all the way black.
Yes, indeed.
She was just
oh my god!
Yesterday.
Oh my god!
She just said she was Indian yesterday. I'm like, but
I remember him though because he's a cancer survivor. That's how I remember who he was.
He's South Asian.
He is so.
I think he's. Let me see.
But
He went to Harvard Law School. I'm trying to
Yeah.
find his website.
I do like Laura's redirection though. Yeah, policy. Boom, boom. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find his policy.
We're
I'm
gonna get
looking for his website.
slippery slope over there. That's
Oh, I see it now. It's Ali 2025. Okay, I'm finna share so we can discuss.
Okay, all right, we're gonna hold off on my Michael Jackson comment. We're gonna have to have some comments. Let's see.
Jersey City is too expensive, so
Laura, you gonna play the trailer because I don't think I've seen it anyway.
it's giving.
Yeah, we can play a little bit of it. I just wanted to go over an exercise I did.
Look at his city transit policies
with some comrades. Fast and free buses.
Okay, fast and free buses.
Expanding
in language. Go no, expand that. Expand fast and free buses. Let me see something.
We'll launch 4 core fare-free routes linking the Heights, West Side, and Greenville to Journal Square and downtown, running every 10 minutes and moving faster with traffic signal priority. We can get this off the ground quickly by redirecting part of the city's current microtransit spend, tapping state transit funds, and bringing in employer partnerships, delivering real cost of living relief, less congestion, and cleaner air for every neighborhood.
So Zinzi and all other New York folks. This is in New York, right? Or this is
Jersey City.
Well, anybody in New York, Jersey area who
New Jersey
know these routes differently or more intimately. What does this policy or effort to do such a thing sound like to you? So I hope there's anybody in Jersey.
Sudeep also said that Jersey City has 2 Dem socialists running as well, Joe Brooks and Jake Efros, for other positions.
Cool. Shout out Jersey City.
And I'm asking that because, again, it's one thing to say the tagline and say like, oh, free and fast buses. But if like you don't have the methodology or the policy to achieve said thing, I would be curious if folks who live in those areas and take those routes and engage in those things would be like, yes, this is actually it. So yeah, if there's anybody in the chat.
Oh, do you see this part?
I definitely like that. Manning pay to play vendors. No more contracts.
No more contracts for firms trying to buy influence will bar vendors and their principals who donate to mayoral/council campaigns or PACs from receiving or renewing city contracts. Enforce a multi-year look back. Publish all vendor donations and debar violators.
That looks good to me.
Mm-hmm.
Publish the mayor and senior staff calendars. Post agendas 7 days ahead. Wait, they don't do this already?
This is that kind of stuff. That's what I was saying when we said earlier.
They do this shit in Memphis.
Fighting for the basics and knowing your local conditions. Amber, know your local conditions. But yeah, seems like it.
We literally have
Cindy, I didn't know that, but I also didn't know
a real-time city checkbook showing every dollar spent plus a contracts portal with bids, scoring rubrics. We have this already. They don't have this in Jersey City. Goddamn.
Well, looks like they're trying to build something.
They don't be having stuff that I be thinking is normal. Oh, let's see what he say for philanthropy.
He's a good man from everything I've heard, but he's not Zoran. For me, Zoran had grassroots backing from important orgs like Drum. Musab's good people too. Yeah, the org backings are really important. Looking at who supports.
Let me look at his public safety thing real quick.
Cool. Well, let's see what he says. Let's see.
By increasing foot patrols, hosting regular community meetings, and ensuring that officers are familiar with the neighborhoods they serve, we can foster mutual cooperation. I'm gagging. Addressing violent crime. He will strengthen the Jersey City Police Department by providing officers with necessary resources and training.
Yeah, right. Boneless socialism, y'all. That's what I'm saying. You don't go after the
mental health crisis requires specialized responses. Musab Ali will advocate for the creation of a dedicated mental health crisis intervention team within the
That's what I'm saying. We just stop. So this is gonna be a little rough.
Baby, he losing me.
So I think there's one person in the chat, or at least two. Well, this person is from the area, Newark, and then Sadip did some work there. So
my favorite nigga on the roster. My favorite nigga on the roster from Newark.
I just want to know how they are engaged with the policies is what I'm basically asking.
I mean, I'm not surprised that he's not super radical about police in Jersey City because, I mean, it's New Jersey.
I love it.
He is a cop lover, John, but also like Jersey City don't have no real crime, just like Newark don't got no real crime.
All right, that means they beat people up worse for nothing when they ain't got no crime out there.
You know, like in New Jersey, where they doing like the real like police brutality shit is like in Patterson and stuff like that. Like they don't be doing that shit in Newark or Jersey City recently. Like I ain't seen nothing for real. I mostly see stuff in Patterson, like South Jersey, shit like that. I don't really see anything happening. I'm saying, Sudip, Amber, he said Amber LMAO. I'm just being honest, bro. Man. Deep said Jersey City has police problems. Oh, well,
I need
his
people on the block.
trash on that shit.
We're going to have to canvas. I need some brothers on the block to tell me police ain't bad out there.
Baby, please fix it. Okay, let me go to the gun violence prevention. Reducing gun violence supports comprehensive gun violence prevention measures, including stricter enforcement on existing gun laws, community-based intervention programs, and educational initiatives about gun safety. I agree with that. I do think we need some gun safety classes because niggas don't know what they're doing. And that's the biggest issue about living in a 2A state like Tennessee. They don't have to get licenses no more. So nobody learns how to use the guns. Nobody gets gun locks, nothing. There's no safety stuff happening at all. Oh, shit. They saying the crime bad in Newark. My bad. The little Newark nigga I talked to said ain't nothing happening there.
All depends.
You live in the hood.
I mean, I got a general idea for this candidate, and I do see again how people are riding the Zoran wave, but I see how we've kind of exposed. There's a lot. There's some differences in there. It depends on who's supporting who, your local conditions, and what you're fighting.
I do like this part about getting more infrastructure for the emergency response, like improving it. Because a lot of them don't be having like they don't have enough 911 responders and shit like that. But the other stuff is trash. He need to throw all this shit away.
Yeah.
A question.
But I mean, Zoran didn't talk about police much at all either. He just didn't say nothing. He didn't say anything at all.
Said they were racist and homophobic and then took it back. So real spineless.
I was like, yeah, he just said he's not gonna say shit at all. That way y'all can't say he said the wrong thing.
When we are engaged in these topics and conversations and analysis, who would y'all say is our actual audience? Would it be the people in the chat? Would it be the people, the average people? Like who do y'all say we hope watch this and engage the content? Because I know people are not really always engaging the content. And they're saying,
I would hope it's the average person. Because I think that like folks need to hear about different things happening in other places too. Like this is somebody who's running in Jersey City, to compare that to like where they are, like a Brandon Johnson or Paul Young in Memphis or Andre Dickens in Atlanta, who won when no one was running against him. I don't know why, niggas. But I will say, I don't know if y'all were watching that council president race. I was real locked in on that motherfucker, and ATL Rowe almost beat that lady. He lost by 2,205 votes.
I did want to highlight, and this will answer Geechee's question. So Zoran talked about police, his biggest weakness. Yeah, I've been highlighting that throughout this broadcast. He offered funding to fight anti-Semitism. So when I saw that early on in the campaign, another just massive red flag. Something about giving the NYPD money to fight hate crimes when they're the ones who stopping for his
who are committing the hate crimes. He should have shut the fuck
surveil
up.
Mosques and all of these things. So that was, that kind of thing. As a brown Muslim man, you talking about NYPD stopping hate crimes is very funny. So I did, find that interesting. Geechee, to your point, I'm not saying that the average person, whatever that means, because I think we all say that means something different, you can't pick this up and watch it, but I do think this is more for people who are interested in organizing or organization, or interested in a more radical analysis from people who do that work. So that would be the audience I'm aiming for. To Amber's point, like Amber seeing people that she knows in the community who watch this. I get people who watch this and send it to me after the fact. Comrade from BNB Miami, Josh, is here, watches the show, gave us some stories to go through today. We'll see if we can. But those are the people who I do this for, people in my community who'd be interested in organizing and building off of the analysis we talk about on here.
I do want to highlight this comment that Era said. which was that Baraka also transformed the way Newark does policing. And that's kind of why I said that about Newark, because also people I know there have said like the way that they have transformed policing has really like moved throughout the rest of the like surrounding cities, like your Jersey City. Now I'm not saying nothing's happening there because somebody said that like they nephew just got shot like fatally there. So like I'm not saying that the crime is like gone or anything, but I have heard from people that they have seen a huge impact of like the policies that Baraka put in place. Actually, there's a Black Mayors Association, and they have been meeting with him. Like our mayor's been meeting with him, and some other ones. I know the Birmingham mayor meets with him because my friend Uche, who works for the Birmingham mayor, runs their gun violence intervention program, and they go to Newark all the time to like change their policies that they're doing in Birmingham, to implement some stuff here in Memphis and some other places to kind of emulate what Baraka did. But I do think that is not the exact same because Newark is very small. And I think that it's harder to replicate something in a place that's so little to like a Birmingham or Memphis or an Atlanta. And they have been trying to figure that out in Birmingham. Like, how do we scale this up? And they've been doing great, but they've been trying to figure that out too. Like, they've worked several years to scale that up to where it needs to be, because a Newark is just not the type of population that you would like replicate immediately. You have to like be able to have funding for it, which they did not have immediately. You have to be able to show that it's effective, so people are willing to give private dollars to it, and the city is able to get the votes they need on city council for the budget for it. Like stuff like that all comes into play. Now, I don't think that nigga should have ran for governor, but you know, that's what I know.
Look,
he was. I don't say the niggas in Newark love him because somebody said Barack was elected by the people. They love his ass. The dude that I talked to who is not political at all, they all know Baraka though. They love that man.
Check out some of her names.
500,000.
That's a check some of her names for New Jersey analysis.
It's small. Or compared to Atlanta, it's small.
Sorry, we were talking over each other for a second, but I think you were saying Newark is not.
Oh, somebody was saying in the chat that Newark is not small because it has 500K, and I was saying that it is small compared to Memphis or Atlanta, though.
Got it. Yeah. So I believe we are joined by our guest now. So
yeah, let me introduce her. Okay.
Before, let's do. You want to do a little segue, a real segue break? Because you don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, this intro is so long. But I want to welcome Joya to the show. Joya is like my big sister / mentor. She's the best. And we want to bring her on and talk about her latest clemency case because Joya works with folks who are on death row. She's from Memphis. I don't know why she got this Atlanta sweatshirt on right now, but it's whatever. We'll let it slide this time.
Hi family, how y'all doing? It's so good to be back up here. Thank you, Amber. Amber is my little sister. I call Amber my movement baby. Yeah, very, very pivotal. Even though we look the same age, don't we? We look the same age. Thank you guys for having me on to talk about this case. Lord, like this has been a whirlwind of really 72 hours because the case that I was working on, and a lot of folks know it now because I guess it's become cool to hashtag it now once it gets popular. Tremaine Wood in Oklahoma. He was a brother that was on Oklahoma's death row for felony murder. And I broke it down in our last show, Geechee, but for those who don't know, felony murder is when you didn't have to actually commit any type of murder or be responsible for somebody's murder, but you were with the person who did. So say if you took a ride with your little homie, your big homie, and you're the little homie, and the individual gets mad at the teller or gets mad at any type of altercation and they inevitably commit a crime of murder. Well, you can be responsible for that murder, and not just responsible for the murder, but charged, according to the state, with the highest form of punishment, which is the death penalty. And that's what happened to Tremaine Wood in Oklahoma. He was following his brother Jake. Jake commissioned him for a robbery in 2001. And a man by the name of Ronnie Whiff, so I definitely want to censor the victim, lost his life. But Jake, his brother, openly admitted to stabbing the victim responsible for his death. But Jake, because he had private attorneys for money that he had stashed from kind of running the streets, he was able to get life. And Tremaine ultimately just received death because his attorney only billed 2 hours of preparation for his death penalty case. And not only that, if you want to just dig deeper into the system and poke holes in the system, the jury wasn't even instructed on the different sentencing that the AG wanted to charge Tremaine with. So they were very confused when it came to actually sentencing him to death. And a juror, the only Black juror, has come out to say that she was very confused. And not only was she confused, she was bullied by the other white jurors to seek the death penalty. So all of that happened 2001. Fast forward to about 5 or 6 years ago, he began his appellate process to actually appeal and overturn that sentence of death, because we all know that sentence was unfair. There were other two people that were involved, two white women that were involved, and one, she only received, I think, about 11 years, and the other one received life with the possibility of parole. So all of them got sentenced, but the harshest sentence was of Tremaine. So that was the one that we were trying to fight for. Tremaine on yesterday received clemency from Governor Stitt 1 minute before he was about to be executed. I want that to sink in with you guys and all of the things that he went through. Having his last meal, which they said was catfish, being walked down to the death chamber, having his spiritual advisor in the room. All of this was happening. And then the governor made a call to the warden 1 minute before and stopped the execution. We thank you, Governor Stitt, for stopping the execution and doing the right thing as a Republican governor. But 1 minute before caused him extreme stress and pain. And just to give you guys an update, I don't know if you've been tracking the case, but he was found in his cell, collapsed and fainted. So he seized a couple of hours after all of this happened. So he is now in the hospital. And we are tracking that as well, of kind of like the events that followed after him leaving the death chamber. The governor said he wants to see cameras and he's going to lead an investigation on what happened. But, I just question, will he do the right thing? And do we really trust system players to tell us what happened? But Tremaine received clemency from the governor a week before. He received a 3-2 vote clemency from the Oklahoma. But I really just want to send a shout out to all the Oklahoma folks that were on the ground, that were working to free this young man, Tremaine Wood, from death row.
So, yeah, I actually was just pulling up the article to see a current thing, and I didn't see the unresponsive thing. And then that article said something about stress and dehydration, which if you about to damn die and you know that you shouldn't be dying.
Right.
So, I thanks for that. I literally just.
Can you guys imagine that? Can you imagine the post-traumatic stress that he's probably going to endure for the rest of his life? He definitely wants to be an advocate. He and I spoke on Tuesday, and he just thanks everyone for the outpouring of love. Even if you just shared a social media image, even if you just hashtag Tremaine Wood, he knows that this movement is bigger than himself. He takes responsibility for just being led down the wrong path. He always says, I wish I had mentors. I wish I had people to let down, but I just didn't have a lot of people in my corner rooting for me.
I had a question. Wasn't this the same governor who did this before, where right before? Okay, because I would say he has a pattern of this, because he ain't shit, and I don't like him. But he does that. Like the other person, they gave him his last meal too. He was on the bed,
right,
and put the needles in. And then he stopped it. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right. And I remember, because I actually was journaling about it, that case, in the last one in Oklahoma. Because I was in DC at the time. I was like doing a voting rights protest thing and I got arrested. And I like at the same time, right after I got arrested, I was making calls again. It had like really de-stressed me. Like I had never felt like so personally attached to something. And I was like dreaming
Mm.
about how much it was just like stressing me out that they were waiting to the very last minute about saving this man's life. And then literally waited till he was on the bed, finna put the needle in, and we're like, yeah, we'll grant him clemency. And I see this as a pattern for him. Like he's just a horrible white man.
What Amber is describing is actually true, and I love when you give visuals like that. Shout out to CC Jones Davis, Antoinette Jones, and Mama Jones. This was the Julius Jones case about 4 years ago. Julius Jones also a one witness testimony when it came to his death sentence as well. It's just a lot of issues. Even if you do believe in the death penalty, it's not reserved just for the worst of the worst. The whole system is based on money. Those who have the resources and have access to not have the death penalty are mostly the ones who don't receive the death penalty. And those who don't receive the resources, those if you have ableism, the death penalty is racist. We know the death penalty, when you talk about youth and the death penalty, there are a lot of folks sentenced to death before the age of 23. But yeah, you're talking about that case now. In that case with Julius Jones, it was 1 hour before, still insidious, but 1 minute before.
Yeah.
So
But I remember
so
he already had his last meal,
Right.
and he was in like he was in the counseling with his spiritual person
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I
so
was like, he had gone that whole day going through the process of
Mm-hmm.
being prepared to be killed. Like that's such like Leia Devin said in the chat, psychological warfare. That's such psychological
It
warfare.
is. It is them.
but that's and this is to give both of y'all flowers, and I really appreciate the way y'all show up and being clear with your politics and then being able to communicate it with policy, but also know that there's tactical things that you have to do on a larger struggle. Because when you look at what they did, right, the 1 minute and the 1 hour,
Right.
we'd be like, oh, that's a this, yeah, or one can say, well, maybe that was strategic.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like now y'all can say, look, when you think about psychological warfare, it's like this is a political. These niggas is playing political football. Like that's what they're doing. Like, and so they know that the people are up. And then how do you get the people to now support you, right? And say like we did this thing, but people like the two of you in terms of like, no, we clear with the policy. Yeah, it's still fuck you, but yeah, this is a little win, but it's still fuck you, and this is why it's still fuck you. You can communicate that through policies for the people. So I would love for both of y'all to kind of share some I guess insight on how you as organizers and people who really intimately connected to policy make sure the energy don't say like he did a thing, and now we need to support him or whatever. Like how do you make sure that's happening?
Right. So I actually want to read a text message that I received on yesterday from an insider that is close to, like I told you, Kichi, our plants, our conservative plants that support us in our policy actions and policy wins. And he said, I text him, I said, the silence is deafening because Governor Stitt hadn't said anything. And he was supposed to be killed 10 a.m. Central Time. So I was responding. I was like, what's going on? It's 30 minutes past the hour. And he said, I developed a theory that Stitt is going to wait absolutely until the last moment in order to allow Tremaine to undergo a sort of purification by judgment for his participation, and yet finally experiencing mercy from him. He did the same thing with Julius Jones. So this is kind of like Southern white governors, Southern white Christian governors playing God in moments where they hold the lives of Black men in their hands. Yeah, and that was from another white man sharing that with me, and he said it with no emotion, but that was his theory,
And
and it is sadistic. Go ahead, Amber.
I was gonna say, like Joy was saying, it's a pattern. And I also have this theory around the same thing of what we see when folks go to jail, right? Like when you have your Khalif Browders, who when he was finally let out of jail, the trauma that he endured was so bad that he still died. And I think that Governor Stitt does this knowing that the trauma that he inflicts on people who are almost about to be murdered will ruin. They have no possibility of living a prosperous life after that because they are so traumatized. There's so much psychological warfare they have endured from this one person who pits themselves as a savior. I think that's the exact thing that happens, which is why, like when it comes to policy, I push so hard against like pretrial detention, and cash bail and other stuff because the psychological warfare that people go through in jail is the worst part. Being there actually wasn't too crazy. I've been in jail 3 times. It wasn't that bad. The food wasn't too crazy last time either. But the psychological warfare of not knowing if I would ever get out because it's so unclear is the actual like damage. And that's what he is doing to people. He knows that he holds the keys to their freedom and he is waiting to inflict as much trauma as possible on them, which is why there does have to be policy changes around the ability for governors to have this much power because he uses it to his advantage.
He does.
Lorik, I'm curious as an organizer, as somebody who's I think an expert in political education, you be doing your thing, and also as somebody who understands propaganda. Like how do you see what the conversation is happening here? Like how's it moving? His overall objective? What organizers like Joya and Amber do? Like how are you seeing like what just happened or how it's happening?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out Joya. I deeply appreciate the work. I saw Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win, shared it with my comrades that night, and was really happy to hear about this. I think they've already outlined it as a tool of psychological warfare. It allows this white Christian man to play God over his colonized subjects, over Black people, over African people. And it also makes you indebted, like feel indebted to this person. Like that is the goal. So you outlined it, Geechee, and I want to say just instinctually we feel like thankfully something happened. That is the knee-jerk reaction. In fact, when I called Governor Stitt's office yesterday and I spoke to this woman who answered the phone, she said he granted him clemency. And I said, thank you. And that was just an instinct. And after I was like, damn, what the hell am I? Why? I felt gross. But that was my instant response. I was just so relieved. I've done these calls so much and they've so many times, more times than not, we take losses. Like I see people lose. So you make that call. I'm expecting an execution. I'm preparing myself mentally for that. And then it is here. Oh, okay. It didn't happen. Even that feeling like a win has to be contextualized by all the things y'all are saying. Because as I'm debriefing, one part of how I'm feeling, I'm glad it didn't happen, all that. I'm like, this man's still locked up. That shit was hella traumatizing. I did not know until just now that it was only a minute before. As I, again, am thanking this white woman. It's a minute before. And he's still locked up. Like, where's the win? Job ain't finished. So that's, I think, more how I'm at with it on a personal level. I think y'all got the analysis down. And I know we're going to get into it with Beneath the Mountain today because we're going to be talking about our ancestor, Turner. But I just appreciate also in terms of PE, how this is grounded in a struggle. Joya, when you were asked if you were an abolitionist, you did what I love to do, which is shout out our ancestors who you believe demonstrated abolitionism. So you shouted out Ida B. Wells and her work. And so I just wanted to say that's also just excellent. So just deeply appreciative.
No, thank you.
Joy, I told them, I didn't tell you. I was so secretly sad that you weren't able to make it to this event because of your work and because of how you show up. I really want you to be a part of this conversation, and so I'm actually glad that we're having this conversation today.
Oh yeah, when I talk about Flock, my organization has a toolkit on our website, flockjustice.org, and at the top we talk about people of faith who have resisted systems of oppression. And up at the top is Nat Turner. Nat Turner was a preacher. So when we talk about engaging the Black faith community in this work, even if sometimes, Amber, we have to wake them up and remind them about Claiborne Temple and remind them about First Baptist Bill, where the Memphis Free Speech and Press was founded by Ida B. Wells. Like, we have to wake them up so they will understand that churches were places where movements were born and were created and actually funded and sustained and grew. So Nat Turner was a preacher. And his proximity to being a preacher and being able to move from plantation to plantation allowed him access to mobilize and free minds, or trying to free minds. So yeah, I'm all in with that. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I sent her the passage yesterday for us to talk about.
Cool. Geechee, you got it
Joya,
up? Or you
I
want me-
told Joya that y'all are her biggest fans.
Oh,
Yeah, I was very happy with y'all's work, the advocacy toolkit. I think like, if anyone's never made an advocacy toolkit before for a political prisoner, please check out what we dropped in the chat. You make a copy of that, make it a template. If you got some political prisoners,
yeah.
use that down to how to call and what to say. Because even when you call, you get a little nervous, a little confused. I was like, oh, hold on, script right here.
I dropped it in the chat again for folks who want the link to the toolkit.
Thank you guys.
We're going to discuss Beneath the Mountain, an anti-prison reader, which we've been talking about the past few weeks here. Geechee was a part of organizing an amazing event around it. We're reading from political prisoners. We started with our ancestor, One, who escaped from George and Marshall Washington's plantation. And we've been working our way down. So I think this week we wanted to focus on Nat Turner, who Joy was just pointing out, practiced that liberation theology that we wish we had more of in our churches today. So, Geechee, I don't know if you have it or if you want me to share my screen, I can.
Yeah, the PDF. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me see.
So yeah, while Lorick is doing that, sure most people know, Nat Turner lived from around 1800 to 1831 when he was murdered. This is the conversation with Thomas Gray right before he was to be executed. And this interview is published here in the book. And there again in this book, there's an edited of Mamiya narrating the story before they get into the interview. So,
you want me to pull it up on the screen too, or?
Yes, please. I'm trying to download it and do all the things. I thought I had it.
My bad. I could. Well, if you want to do it, Amber?
No, you gotta get. Go ahead.
I gotta share it with.
All right, I'll pull it up because
once I share with my other account, it should be good. Hold on.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Got a lot going on over there, Lord.
Hey man, I figured it out. I think.
You did?
Sure. Yeah. No, not yet. I shared it to myself, but now it's not. I know, guys. My bad.
Error 500 X in the chat is a toolkit on a website. Yes, it's on the Flock website. So if you go to the flockjustice.org website, it's on there.
Okay, I got it now, y'all. My bad.
It only took 5 years.
Don't do that, man, like that. See,
it's true.
You're not gonna do it.
All right. So, Beneath the Mountain, Anti-Prison Reader, edited by Maria Abu Jamal and Jennifer Black. Our books are on the way, Amber. We got ours coming.
Sorry.
So,
are they?
We did One, Judge Staines. That was response to George and Marshall Washington, her enslavers. And now we are doing Nat Turner pre-trial confessions. So we've been reading the summary at the beginning. If y'all don't mind a little bit of popcorn reading, I'm actually going to zoom in more paragraph by paragraph, and then we can just talk about the letter itself or the confessions themselves. So anyone want to start us off?
I'm going to go first.
Cool.
We cannot hide from history, no matter how ugly it is. Therefore, it makes sense to include Nat Turner, who at the time of this confession was both enslaved and detained. Contesting these oppositions, the insurgent preacher traded in the currency of the era, religious righteousness. Turner was known to have spiritual visions and prophetic dreams, some of which he interpreted as a call to uprising. Engaging Bible principles to rationalize revolt, Turner led the bloodiest slave rebellion in U.S. history, organizing approximately 70 Black people to attack the white society that propagated human trafficking, breeding, and slavery. Turner's insurgents reportedly spared some houses, those of impoverished white families who Turner believed posed no threat. While Turner eluded immediate capture, after 2 months he was apprehended. In response to questions from a white lawyer named Thomas R. Gray, Turner explained the circumstances that led to his revolt. He was found guilty and executed along with his co-conspirators.
I'll read next. And I love that class suicide and class analysis in that little passage. Following Turner's revolt, the South reached against Black literacy. Reacted against Black literacy in much the same way it has revolted against critical race theory since the Black Lives Matter uprising. Anti-literacy laws prohibiting enslaved people from learning to read and write were strengthened and more widely enforced. A literate and articulate Black man, Turner confronted the slaveocracy with what can happen when human beings are treated like livestock. How different might this account be if Turner afforded the privilege of self-representation, had written it himself instead of having mediation of the lawyer who transcribed his words. The role of literacy and the significance of self-representation proved to be current throughout this book. Turner's plight raised other questions that remain relevant to this day from an abolitionist perspective. What are the best methods to liberate ourselves from violent systemic oppression? Is the use of armed resistance ever justified? If so, when and who decides? That when question definitely relates to
Always
the earlier.
justified.
No. But that when question definitely relates to the conversation that we were just having. Word to Leonard. The when can be measured through a strategy or a tactic that we all leave on the table. But anyway, go ahead. Let's rock. You muted.
Sorry, that was an excellent overview. In Florida, definitely that CRT point, the book banning history is obviously a continuation of that legacy. In fact, when discussing the book banning saga for political education down here, I started with the first book the U.S. banned, which was Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is very interesting. And then I always point out that even with the book that liberals and conservatives think are dangerous, right? We have the real history, like the story of Josiah Henson, who Uncle Tom's Cabin is based off of, who was an ancestor who self-emancipated and all those things. So I appreciated that this piece talked about record, like who gets to record our stories, who doesn't make it into the record and all those things. Nat Turner, even from a privileged position, we know that we don't get to hear all of his perspective and analysis. We have to have it transcribed to us. And so,
yeah, I really hate the spoiler, but once you get through Frederick Douglass, there's a conversation around, because he knew how to read and write, a lot of his comrades who didn't, you don't get to know who the fuck they are and what the fuck they said and what the fuck they believe. And it was a really powerful. And I also gonna say, there's a couple times that I like cried in reading this book. There's a few, because just to have to know that like this conversation is right before they about to murder him. Same thing with John Brown, and then the Julia and Ethel Rosenberg shit broke me because they're writing a letter to their kid, even though John Brown's writing a letter to the kid too. So, but I'm glad that you pointed that out, Lord. Like the stories that don't get to be told because of even the way in which to do archives. We either didn't have the tool or muscle to do it and capture those things, or those people just didn't have the medium to communicate their ideas, and it for it to be held and given to the people here and behind us. Go ahead.
No, it just reminds me of the Sojourner Truth "Ain't I a Woman" speech. There were two different speeches, right? And you guys know that. Like there was a speech which was more accurate, where she was eloquently talking about and challenging white suffrages compared to her plight as a Black woman. And then the one that was printed in the newspaper that heightened and jacked up what people would call a slave vernacular of "Ain't I a Woman?" So it just speaks to that being able to control our own narratives and our own stories, but not just that, being responsible for our brothers and sisters. And I'm just going to tie it back to Tremaine. Like when I spoke with Tremaine on Tuesday, he said that he wanted to write a book. He said a trilogy of everything that has happened to him over the past 24 years of him being incarcerated. But he said he didn't feel confident in his writing, comprehension, and being able to draw analogies to where the reader will understand exactly what's going on with him. So I volunteered if he ever wanted to write that book, that I would walk alongside him in doing that. But I also said that if he makes it a movie, then he needs to get Beyonce to play me.
You like her acting like that?
I had to throw a
acting.
little humor. I had to throw a little humor.
I'm like
in it.
Tamia. I think Tamia can play that role, please.
No, but it just speaks to us being able, if we are in a position of, you know, knowing how to write and read and convey messages and stories to people, to handle that with care and walk alongside our brothers who and sisters who want to tell their stories but may not have the resources to tell their stories, so they won't be manipulated.
He don't never do this. Enjoy it on the screen. Now all of a sudden he won't.
No, he actually looked like. Can I say something, please? I got something. Let him share.
It's because Joya's here. He loves Joya.
She brings us out.
Joya, to your point, I also think, just like the Josiah Henson thing, the fact that he wasn't this good, perfect victim that this white woman wrote, that he was actually self-emancipating, that he had a family, that they escaped to Canada, right? I think all of that gets lost. I appreciate what Black Myth does, which is highlight the things that are distorted here. So to your point about Sojourner Truth, I believe it's because she was enslaved by the Dutch. So that, right. Like, so when we do that, when white people rewrite our history, it hides the international nature of the struggle that we always talk about and that we keep dealing with today. So if you know she was enslaved by the Dutch, then you know that's why she speaks the way she does. And then you can remember, oh, that's right. It was all of these European powers conspiring to keep us enslaved. It wasn't just 1619 in the Brits, it's 1526 in the Spaniards. It was all of these things against African people. So yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out on what we miss sometimes with the record.
Jordan started a fight in the chat.
Oh, I had.
Oh no! What happened? I can't see the chat.
I'm starting to fight too, but
yeah, I was gonna say.
I am manifesto was like, can Tamia act? And I was like, well, can Beyonce act? But then
this is all off the Beyonce casting comment. Oh, to our point about liberation theology, about the answers, like the kind of psychological fortitude it takes to stand strong when you're about to die. You know, he said, "Do you find yourself mistaken now?" And his response was, "Not Christ crucified." That's amazing. That's an amazing response. So much of this.
I always wonder if like I would respond in the same way to stuff like that, or like if people I know who are like organizers or like radical niggas will respond in the same way. Like if like when you're, they finna cut your neck off, like are you still gonna have the same politics? Are you still gonna uphold those same things? Because I be thinking about wavering sometimes. I don't know, man. By the 10th hour in jail, I was like, well, shit, what can I say to get up out of here?
But I think. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I think what I was about to say. So one thing, like Mumia was very, 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 very pleased with our event at Morehouse. So our event was selected as a crown forum, which means like students can get participation for showing up. So it was packed the fuck, like people. It was just too many people in there, and our excellent professors made sure that they put the QR code up after they finished talking because people would have clink. But speaking of Amir, why the perfect person to edit such a book? Because so a lot of times I think about like power dynamics, internal orgs, right? Inside orgs versus outside. All of us have an analysis on the power dynamics outside, but when it's time to talk about power inside, it's like we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And then, but even inside, sometimes when people have power, they utilize power to try to break people and harm people, whatever. And just the thought that they have control over people brings some type of something to them. And it made me think about Mumia. Like, as long as Mumia has been in prison, imagine how many guards being like, do this, and say this, just because they can. But they actually don't have the capacity to break Mumia's spirit, like at all. Like, he's kind of like, man, yeah, sure. I'll go in and the lights get turned off because Mia talk about the reason why his eyes fucked up is because they'll turn the lights off so he can't read, and that little bit of light that's in the corner, he'll use that to read. And so again, I'm just thinking about like the spirit that you actually have to have, right? And wherever you call it, even with Nat Turner, like there's people who liberation theology. I don't care what the fuck you believe, but I know what that person believed has that person still relevant today, right? You don't know his mama and the daddy and the kids. You don't know none of people's names. You know Nat Turner name. You know John Brown name. And so whatever they believe spiritually, however it translates into their interactions with humans at the time, there's something there to examine. It sounds like to me, right? So whatever Mamiya believes, whatever he's committed to, like in order for him to be real strong right now, despite his body failing, as an elder person who has been tortured for so long, that if that fight and that clarity is then not inspiring, then your ass probably already dead too. He more alive than you.
Not you already dead too. I do have a theory, Geechee, speaking of my dog, that he can talk and that he be doing that. He be getting ready to say something, but then somebody bring attention to it, he won't do it. But I have a theory.
Your dog can't damn talk. I'm joking.
We'll see.
I'm waiting on him one day because he has howled and it sounded like words before. My mom was like, "Did he just say?" I'm like, "Yeah." I just have it's a secret theory. I feel like he just waiting on his mom.
The hidden camera in the room. It's like Toy Story. When you walk in, he plays dead.
I feel like he be acting like them pets on that Pets movie. You seen the movie where it's like all the pets, owners leave. He be acting like that.
Oh man.
I think trees be talking and moving around, and then when the daytime come in, you go outside and go hiking, they'll stop, and then be like, "These motherfuckers ain't ready for us to be talking."
Yep, they're rooted and grounded, but yeah, they have spirit.
Did we have any other takeaways from this piece? If not, Joy, you are free to join us for some news, some breakdown.
I really liked the part when he was talking about like being a visionary and like how it's connected to his spiritual gift and other stuff. And I know Julia can connect with this too because like we, are very she a PK. I'm not, but Joy's a PK, so she all into the God shit. And I definitely believe that like that's a spiritual gift, like being able to see things. And I for sure have said before that I feel like my spiritual gift is similar. Like I'll see things, like I'll dream about them before they happen. And then like it can be years later. They don't happen immediately, but I'll like be like, oh, this feels like deja vu. And I really resonated with that because I've heard other people say that too who are organizers, like who are organizers and abolitionists, like they will dream about stuff. And I also think it's a part of the practice of abolition and like the practice of like the hope that we want to see in organizing, that you honestly can also manifest some of those things. Like I'm dreaming about what I think could happen or what's possibly going to happen. And it might not happen immediately, but eventually it does happen. So that part really resonated with me too, because I had never heard that about Matt Turner. I had heard that he was very like gifted, but I hadn't heard to think about the dreams and stuff.
Yeah, Amber, you've been through several journeys here before. You are highly evolved. I believe a lot of people that their spirit and their soul wrestles when it comes to others. They are highly evolved and they are connected to spirit and source and God, something that's bigger than them. Because you have some people that's just existing. Some people don't know about no Tremaine Wood, Nat Turner. Like literally, people do not know that. They may know about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but you have some people that are completely fine with just existing and walking about this earth, and not being able to connect to another soul, let alone movements. So I believe movement people are highly evolved and connected to something, and I believe that they've had several passageways through this earth to try to make the world a better place and our lives a better place. So this is just, our journeys that we're on.
Look at that preacher kid preaching. Preach. The spirit of movement.
Yeah, the gosh. Y'all know what I meant. Hell.
Hey, but if you're not a PK, you're a CK. All y'all church turn, so don't act like that. So, Lark, I don't know if you're about to go to this, but I like I said, the class analysis that Nat Turner gave, and then the class suicide, right? So preachers, some argue, was the first black middle class folks, and for them to drop that and be like, nah, we getting busy is one thing, and then when I was reading, I was thinking like sometimes it's really hard to like imagine enslavement and realize that most of these white motherfuckers didn't actually have slaves. Like there was a white elite that actually had it. So when he talked about he skipped the houses, that was no threat. It was kind of like, and then also like the preachers telling him stuff as a little kid, and there were white folks. Even his master was like you don't seem fit for a slave. Like you're too intelligent for this particular thing. And so you can see the thing brewing in him. And I always wonder if it's like the thing that was in you that allow you to use your religious indoctrination or whatever you want to call it to move a thing, or is the thing itself? Like what comes first? Because it's not denied that his grandmama, his mama, granddaddy, the person who was capturing and owned him, the next door neighbors. There were a lot of people kind of pouring into Baby Nat in a way that like ignited something. So rather he would have been a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, whatever he was, like the energy of the spirit, as Joy was talking about, that was in him. And so I'm always curious how less of about a epistemological argument of how you value truth and where you think it comes from, and more of an ontological argument of like what is the thing that he did, right?
It's a lot of big words.
I know, but one of them is just more so of like what is measurable. Ontology is what is measurable, unverifiable fact. This book is going to drop because that's gravity. I don't give a fuck about where gravity came from and who sanctioned gravity, but that's the thing that we can't really argue about. And what we can't argue, say that again.
Drop it so we can make sure.
What we can't argue about is whatever he believed allowed him to kill European people who were harming African people and advance the struggle and actually concluded into people being free. Because at this point, even with Denmark Vesey, when they caught Denmark Vesey, the white face said, "Who like?" There's outside agitators. There's no way y'all thought about this on your own. Like, who's your leader?
It's me, bitch.
No. Denmark Vesey says Dessalines. So, and they were like, who? At the time, they were like, who? What? They didn't know. Like, but that's the spirit that's connected to IET as well. So it's like, I just think that conversation is interesting, and I would like for people to focus more on, again, the concrete things that you can talk about and stop like disassociating yourself with a movement because you uncomfortable and you still church hurt.
Yeah.
Church hurt, but movement hurt is also real too.
That's a fact.
So we have to talk about that. You know, anytime we are gathering with one another and we are in a community with one another, that can also be very real. Because there is some post-traumatic stress from slavery. There's some intergenerational things that we need to break. But that's a whole nother episode. I just wanted to thank you, Amber and Geechee, and meeting you, Lorik, for inviting me on this show. You know, my parents are here. So as we are having this conversation, Pastor Thorne and Evangelist Thorne are in the next room. So they are in Atlanta. And you know how all Black people are. They're like, I want to go to Tyler Perry Studios. I'm like, we have to actually plan for that, Mom and Dad. So I definitely thank y'all. This has been a very rich conversation. This was my morning coffee. So always bring me back if you guys need me.
Absolutely.
We will. Your parents are so funny, bro. They are such black pastor parents.
And they love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
What was I gonna say? Oh, when you said something about in you, I was like, yeah, it's not on you, it's in you. I forgot who said that, but I always think about that when you be talking about stuff like this.
I was thinking about the connection between Black Moses or Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner in this situation as well, because Harriet Tubman was another person who took her Christian faith and interpreted it for liberation, felt called to lead her people, that kind of thing. I do believe that we need something that's a sense of purpose that we can recognize exists beyond us, whether we think there's a scientific reason why that is or a spiritual reason or whatnot.
And I think it's both. I think it's a mixture.
Yeah, and as maybe on this channel, I'm not a spiritual person, so I don't.
Or are you an atheist too?
I am, yes. Absolutely.
But I think what Joy just did there, which helped what I said and involve it, that merged both of them. The church hurt people and the movement hurt people.
Right.
I really feel like that's a conversation that we need to deal with, because again, when we talk about power dynamics externally and then internally, like I'm just not really sure that people who say they want to build a revolution is like, oh, like there's actually a social transformation in the way in which we treat and talk to each other and engage with each other. Like if we ain't building systems of care, like it's almost like you ain't even show me you can build a thing that your analysis say that you believe in. Like I ain't see it yet.
Right.
So we talked about that at the conference I was at with Joya. Actually, she talked about it on a panel that she was on. I went to her workshop, and she mentioned that because someone was talking about kind of like movements being fragmented and like church hurt a little bit, and she went into it a little bit. I wish she had gone more into detail on that, but I think we can have a separate conversation. I agree with her, like what you're saying, Geechee. Like we should have a separate talk about it because I do think that they're both interconnected. And when people are able to heal those things, we can move forward. Like we're not gonna get nowhere in movement and the things we want to accomplish because people are unwilling to like, join in and stuff.
Go ahead, Lord.
No, y'all are there. This is why we have
Lord, I want to post this book recommendation. When you were talking, I saw it. Someone said that a book recommendation that comes to mind is Walking the Way of Harriet, Awakening from the Underground, The Spirit of Harriet Tubman.
Thank you. And I would much rather anyone read that, watch that movie. So please check it out. Respect your ancestor. And
there's another one, right? Fire on the Mountain. So Fire on the
historical fiction.
It's a novel, but it's a novel merging John Brown and Harriet Tubman, which that and Sky Full of Elephants. Yeah. Like that and Sky Full of Elephants are definitely books that I feel like I don't. Yeah, Fire on the Mountain. Yeah.
Fire on the Mountain.
In the chat talking about I look crazy. I was sick all week, but I didn't want to stand y'all up. I'm so dedicated.
Fire on the Mountain is the book Geechee's referring. It's historical fiction where John Brown and Harriet Tubman, who were actually supposed to link, actually end up meeting, having a successful slave revolt throughout the Black Belt South. And then the Black Belt South gains independence and joins with the Haitian people who have been freed through the revolution. So it's an alternative history where, Pan-Africanism happens between us and the South, our Haitians and folks in the Caribbean, and you get to live in that world, which I think is fascinating. And I'm pretty sure that book is not printed commonly in the U.S. I have to check on that, but I don't think it's something you get access to easily here. If I remember the last time I tried to buy it. The other thing I would say, I think it's about interpretation, right? Afro-Christianity is a distinct strain of Christianity. So the verses we cite, the way we practice, the people, the figures we're drawn to in the book look different. I know that Matt Turner is saying that he interprets his Christianity as inspiring him toward revolution, like as the thing stated. And there are other people who would maybe read the story of like Potiphar's house and talk about being a good slave and working and having faith. And then one day your master recognizes your talents and frees you. And to your point, Geechee, about the class analysis, Nat Turner had that option. So everyone, since he was a child, is like, Nat, you're too smart, right? You're too smart to be a slave. And white people told him that. So he could read that same Bible, read the story of Joseph and Potiphar, and come away with, well, I'm the special slave. I'm smarter. I was chosen by God. I'm a good man. He could have done that, right? He had that pathway available to him. And instead, he talks about having a dream with his ancestors fighting and working for freedom. So he makes that kind of class suicide in a way. Lights up that path of being a good slave, maybe even being able to buy his freedom, become a pastor, talking about Geechee, have a good middle-class life or whatever, slaves' middle-class life was. And he says, no, this is not the Bible I believe in. So always interesting to see that happen. Go ahead.
So all of my little time studying the Bible, teaching the Bible, and I think I talked about this a couple of times. I remember facilitating the Bible study, and in the Bible study there were atheists, Hebrew Israelite, Christian, Muslim, there's a bunch of people, and my objective was to like study the book as a book and like be clear on it. So if you believe the book and that's your final authority, then you should probably know what the book says. If you don't fuck with it, you shouldn't misquote something and be like, I don't believe it because of this name. and it's to like strengthen whatever you believe. So I wasn't trying to sway people anyway. And I remember this sister was like, well, I don't fuck the Bible because it condones rape. And I was like, wait, when? What verse were you talking about? And they couldn't tell me the verse, but I knew what they was talking about. There was like two different verses. One verse said, literally, if a man rapes a woman, the men in that village take them to the middle of the place and they stone them to death. And I was like, you talking about that? Because that's not that. Now, there's other verses that I can take you that's very problematic that you could, but just don't make up something. And then the other one was the verse that they was thinking about is like, if a man deflowereth the woman, and again, this is old ass language. If the flower, they owe the father something double. And so they was merging those two verses and saying like, oh, if you rape the woman, all you gotta do is just pay the dad and you'll be all right. But again, contextual, and you can go into the patriarchal argument then. But what it was actually saying was like, yo, if you sleep with this woman before you have proved and shown to the parents and the family that you can actually take care of them, you're gonna be penalized twice, right? And so again, even that is a problematic conversation, but it doesn't say explicitly what she said. She just merged two verses.
Yeah, we had a lot of somewhat lazy critique of those things, you know. For me, I'm a historical materialist, right? So these things came from somewhere. That's where I'm always at with it. Like, I know that makes sense for this society, which was, I believe, Bronze Age, you know, North Africa, West Asia, South Europe. Like, cool. That is, they would have to figure out those practices, and that's how that applies to them. My ancestors were somewhere in West Africa having a great time, is how I see it. And also, I also see it as people
same
are going to
same.
Right. You know, whatever God, goddesses, whatever non-gender binary things they were worshiping, that's what they had. And those weren't the best either, if we look at some of their contradictions. My thing is, Black people, colonized people, we're going to pick up whatever tool we have available to us and try and sharpen it for our conditions for freedom. So to me, we had the Bible. That's pretty much the only book that Turner's even given, you know, so you got to make that shit work. And if you were given the Quran, he would make that shit work. And if he was given the Bhagavad Gita, he'd be making that shit work. And we'd be talking about a different God that he used to interpret for his freedom. But at the end of the day, I see it as people have to break from the colonizer's worldview. You need something to do that, right? Hubert Henry Harrison exists for folks like me, so I can just look at how he did it mentally. For someone like Malcolm in prison, in the depths of prison, he needed Islam. He needed the nation. He needed something like an organization, to the point about movement harm, but also an ideology, like something to center him. So whatever that is for Black people, whatever we use to gain cognitive autonomy, that is what we tend to build our ideology around. So for a lot of our Black people, that is the church. You're going to have to engage the church whether you want to or not, as we always talk about on this channel. Like, there's nothing you can do. This is the historical material conditions you've been given. Black people, our social institution for organizing in the U.S. and the colonized world is church, is what it is, you know. So that's how
either move with the people or keep moving away from the people.
Yep, that's pretty much, you know, like who has the space, who has the resources, who is going to serve the people, right? And then again, I do want to give some credit to my sort of atheist analysis. Some of these things are able to withstand the state better. Some of these people are able to withstand the state better because the church is insulated and certain things like that. So which thing is going to be more attacked by the state, your secular free breakfast program or the church's free breakfast program? One of those things has a layer of protection, the other doesn't. I do like to point that out sometimes because I don't think the comparisons are always fair. But, yeah.
I agree. It's been such a great show, you guys. I have to go talk to some college students now.
What you telling them?
I'm talking about organizing within schools and abolition.
Oh,
it's a class about. Hold on, I'll pull up the little description because, child, you know me, I don't be paying no fucking. It's about It's African American Studies class about the African American experiences in U.S. public schools from antebellum to present, and they want to talk about the experiences in Memphis, particular about like within Memphis schools, the integration, but they're also doing a project about abolitionist teaching and pedagogy and wanting to hear me talk about my experience as an organizer in school and a student in Memphis.
So you get to talk to the babies?
They in college, but yeah.
Man, they the babies. Yeah. I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
What
It's
you got
cool.
going on, Gigi?
I have this theory that every time I've spoken at Rhodes, someone is telling someone else that I spoke there. This will be my third time speaking at this school in the last 2 months. So somebody is telling people about whatever I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying that's different because I'm saying the same shit. But someone's telling people about it and they keep hitting me up. So somebody found me on Instagram. This girl was like, I heard about you coming to speak to some other class. Can you come and talk about this? And I was like, yeah.
It might be the conditions are ripe, like we were saying about socialism. We say the same thing, but then the conditions change, and it's like, wait, what was Amber talking about again? Hold on, wait a minute. This person might need to come on campus. So let's go.
Era asked a question about my thoughts on Bettina Love's work. Can you give me a specific thing? What specific thing about her work would you want to talk about? Like
maybe we do this till we free us. I've read that one. That's like kind of abolitionist pedagogy, but we can talk about it if you.
Are you talking about by Miriam Kaba?
No, I'm trolling. Sorry, Bettina Love. You absolutely right. That is Miriam Kaba. Bettina Love's is we want to do more than survive. That's that. Okay. Similar topic.
I'm gonna add it to my list.
Yeah. Oh, there's more. She has an abolitionist toolkit. Sorry, lessons in liberation, abolitionist toolkit for educators. We want to do more than survive was the one I saw. Hip hop's little sisters speak, negotiating hip hop identities and politics. So we can talk about those in the future.
Okay, I'm gonna review these over the week, Era, because I'll actually be at a training all week next week, so I won't have to do any work. So I'll have like a lot of time to read. So I'm gonna review these, and then I can definitely talk about it because I do have some thoughts about education and abolition. So I'm down.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, what I got going on, I'm gonna leave here and go through the conference, get some more of that employee ownership. From Morehouse. I mean, I'm gonna go there a little bit, but then we have the tenants meeting with the seniors at 2. So I'll be getting into some conversation around that. Oh yeah, shout out to them fighting elders, man. We're doing a turkey giveaway as a little organizing method. They said they wanted some turkey, and them whack ass people at Edmonton Capital Group is not fucking with them. They actually are fucking with them, but they're not taking care of them, so we'll take care of seniors.
Send it in the chat. I'll donate.
Yeah. There's a way that you can get involved and help politicize them. Those are a bunch of our fighting elders. And then so after that Saturday we have a general body meeting where the Atlanta chapter CMB will be getting into some dialogue around what we got going on. I will be taking care of my mental health this week. Had a rough ass week last year. Lord, I mean not last year. Last week. Yeah. So I'm gonna grieve how I grieve and take care of myself, but I'm definitely gonna be locking in with my my tendency. Cool. How about you, Lord? What you got going?
In Miami, we're doing mutual aid. So check out what's called Freedom Lab Miami. Freedom Lab Miami. Oh, happy birthday, Leah, by the way. Happy birthday.
I was just putting in the chat.
Leah, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Leah. Y'all know that song?
Nah. You
Bart Simpson. Remember when Bart Simpson was saying, Lisa, it's your birthday?
Oh my God. I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. Let's talk about it. My mistake.
Happy birthday, Leah.
Happy birthday. Chat Remix All-Star, BLM All-Star. So if you go to Charles Hadley Park, someone asked where my people come from in Miami. So Charles Hadley Park, we have a skate rink. Our membership and culture chair, Calvin's been pushing that effort. So we're painting the skate rink. So if you want to come out, Charles Hadley Park, follow Black Men Build Miami, and come paint the skate rink. It's going to be a good time. So you can do some service that way. And of course, we are feeding our people snap cuts. The holidays are about to be rough for our folks. So Freedom Lab Miami, Black Men Build Miami, or the Black Collective. If you look at any of those things in Miami, you can come volunteer. We need people with cars. We need people to stand out and give out food. We also need people to help prepare groceries. So that's what we got going on this weekend. Again, happy birthday, Leah. Check out what we got going on in the program. Check out Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. from earlier this week. Blackness Podcast was doing great work. Tandy had a broadcast earlier this week, so check out Rootwork. Jacqueline Lukemon, we got Darker Than Blue coming on, and then of course Saturdays with Renee. And I think Jared's doing a live, maybe Saturday Night Live tomorrow, if you got some time for that. So check out all the great work we got going on the platform. Did we finish?
Guys.
We finished on time. All right, as Jared and ancestor Fred Hampton say, peace if you're willing to fight for it. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
Amber, you taking us out?
Remix. 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 Remix.